Welcome to Demystifying Security. Cybercrime costs $1.1 million per second, with criminals becoming more sophisticated. Recent research showed that 9 out of 10 organizations have been affected by cyber attacks. Given there's a huge shortage of skills today, we will talk about what ordinary businesses are able to do to protect themselves. Today, I have the privilege of talking with Simon Clark, the founder of FortNet UK Limited. Simon has been involved in security since 1999 and has worked for numerous IT and security vendors over the years. He's at the forefront of the latest security attacks, threats, and emerging tools to help protect organizations. Welcome to the show, Simon.
Hello, Elias. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Simon, let's just kick this off by asking a simple question. How big is the cybersecurity market?
Well, it's huge. As you pointed out, $1.1 million a second. I've seen reports where it's estimated to be costing us globally $1 trillion a year. And by 2025, it's forecast to be potentially 10 trillion. And then with 7,000 security vendors out there, they're all vying for over $200 billion worth of sales in terms of services and tools.
So how sophisticated are the criminals who operate in this market?
There's a complete range of skills, from the geek that actually programs this stuff and codes it and looks for all the clever vulnerabilities, to the complete extreme of the armchair criminal who's got very little cybersecurity knowledge at all, but buys tools off the dark web for less than £100 and then just flushes out the typical stuff that most of the people watching this are probably familiar with already.
So does this only affect large corporates, the big banks, government, things like that?
No, not at all. That's the point, that these armchair criminals are indiscriminate. So they will flush out threats to grandmas, granddads, the man in the street, small organizations right the way up to large organizations. So everybody is vulnerable now.
So if you're going to break this down into groupings, how many categories of cybersecurity threats are there?
Well, it's very broad, but I think for today's purposes, I'd break it down into 3, which would be email compromise, patching, and impersonation.
Okay, so Simon, we obviously won't be able to cover all of these in detail today. Maybe could you cover some of them at a high level in this call? And would you be able to come back and go into greater detail on each one later on?
Well, I'd be delighted to come back and go into more detail with you, Elias.
Awesome.
And yes, at a high level, if we start with the first one, which was email compromise, what they're trying to do is 2 things. One is to scrape your personal details. They want to get your username and some passwords, policy numbers, national insurance numbers, that kind of thing, personal information that they can then use for other reasons, to try and break into your accounts and use them, or break into your organizations. And then the second one with email is typically they're trying to deposit a ransomware, which is a virus, on your machine. It encrypts it, and then they charge you a ransom to get the key to unencrypt it so your machine can be used again.
Okay, so that's email. What about the patching? How many threats are there around the area of patching?
Well, patching is really down to how much have you got in your organization or in your home. The more you've got, the worse it becomes. But patching is all about making sure that you've updated everything that you've got, so that it's locked off all the vulnerabilities that the criminals are looking for. So these software manufacturers like Microsoft, Apple, all the applications that you're running, they continue to send you these wretched updates every week almost, and it's annoying, but they're not doing it for fun. They're doing it for 2 reasons. One is it improves the application that they've got, it gets rid of the bugs, but also they're covering off those vulnerabilities that criminals have found as a way into those applications to do bad stuff.
The third category you mentioned was impersonations. That sounds pretty straightforward. What does that involve?
Well, there's two types of impersonation for the sakes of today, and it's all about this is where business email compromise comes in. So, one way that they do it is they'll create a server and send out emails that look exactly like you. They'll copy your exact email address, and with social engineering, they can send emails that look exactly like you. And then they ask people to do stuff, and people do it in good spirit because they think it has actually genuinely come from you. The other type, and that's called spoofing. The other type is more of an impersonation, which is where they take your domain and they change it very slightly. So they'll register a domain that looks a bit like you, enough to fool the recipients, and they'll send you emails that look a bit like you, but they're not. And they'll even set up websites that look a bit like you, and maybe either direct people to competitive stuff, or they'll just copy whatever your website's doing, and they'll then scrape the data and steal your clients, basically.
Well, look, Simon, if the audience here wants to get hold of you, what are the best way for them to get hold of you?
We have a website, www.fortnet.co.uk. There'll be a contact page on there with a phone number, an email address, and even if you want to, there's a calendar link, so you can just select a time that suits you, and you're very welcome to a complimentary discussion about whatever might be concerning you.
Simon, thank you very much to helping us to demystify cybersecurity. And we look forward to having you on another call in the not too distant future.
Elias, it's been a pleasure. Thanks ever so much.